What if your roadmap, sprint rituals, and security obligations all pulled in the same direction, automatically satisfying CISA, UK, and EU expectations as you ship? In this module, we'll turn those abstract secure by design mandates into concrete governance and SDLC mechanics that fit into everyday work. Secure by design fails in most organizations for a simple reason. There's a translation gap. Regulations and guidance set the outcomes they expect, but not how to wire those expectations into daily decisions. Governance is that missing translator. It turns high-level CISA, UK, and EU principles into concrete choices, like hardened base images, MFA by default, and SBOM requirements that show up in roadmaps, pipelines, contracts, and vendor reviews. To make secure by design real, picture your organization as three interlocking gears: people, process, and priority. People are the named owners, clear roles, and RACIs that keep decisions from falling through the cracks. Process is your secure SDLC, how you design, build, test, and release in line with regulatory expectations. Priority is the risk-based backlog that ensures the most important security work is actually funded and shipped. If any one of these gears stops, the whole secure by design system stalls. Secure by design also changes who owns the problem. It's no longer just a CISO or engineering concern. It becomes part of directors' fiduciary duty. Boards set risk appetite, demand evidence of secure by design, and decide where resources go. Governance structures turn that intent into policies, risk committees, and change approval. Execution teams then deliver secure SDLC practices, monitoring, and remediation. When any layer fails, liability and reputational damage can now flow all the way back to leadership. For this to work, ownership must be crystal clear. Product owners decide the what and own the business risk. They define security acceptance criteria and decide where secure by design work sits in the backlog. Engineering leads own the how. They're accountable for secure implementation, coding practices, and automated tests that enforce those standards. Security and risk teams own the standard and guardrails. They define policy, minimum controls, and the security definition of done, while overall outcomes remain a shared responsibility. Everyone also needs to know their lane. A RACI matrix makes that explicit. Accountable is the person who ultimately owns the outcome and signs off. Responsible is who actually performs the work. Consulted are the experts you deliberately involve. Informed are the stakeholders who must not be surprised later. For each key activity, requirements, threat modeling, code review, release, you should be able to point to named people in each of those roles. Now think of your secure SDLC as a factory that continuously turns regulatory inputs into compliant releases. You start by pulling CRA and PSTI expectations directly into product requirements. In design, threat modeling translates those into concrete controls. During implementation, secure coding practices embed them in the codebase. Release and operations then gate deployments, monitor behavior, and manage updates and support periods, so those obligations stay met throughout the product's life. Secure by design begins at requirements and design, not at the pen test stage. Start by turning regulatory language into concrete requirements. Protocols, encryption levels, logging, retention, and access rules. Then run threat modeling. Map assets, data flows, and trust boundaries, and deliberately ask, how could this be abused? That becomes your security backlog. Finally, hold structured design reviews against zero trust patterns. Fixing issues here is orders of magnitude cheaper than discovering them in production or after an incident. In implementation, secure by design means your code never moves forward without being challenged. Developers follow secure coding standards like OWASP or CERT, so common flaws are prevented, not just detected. Automated scanners run in CI/CD, static analysis, dynamic tests, and software composition analysis to create an objective, repeatable gate. Peer review then adds human judgment, catching design issues tools miss and confirming that high-risk findings are truly resolved before release. At release, secure by design turns the stage into a gate, not a suggestion. Before you ship, you need a clear definition of done, zero known critical vulnerabilities, and explicit risk acceptance from the right owner. Crossing that gate hands security to operations. Infrastructure is declared as code, so configurations remain consistent. Continuous monitoring watches for drift and attacks. And a secure update mechanism lets you push patches quickly. Proving security is an ongoing obligation, not a one-time event. Day to day, Secure by Design lives or dies in the backlog. Security work doesn't sit in a separate spreadsheet. It competes directly with features in the same queue. Each item gets one priority score based on impact times severity. Impact covers business value plus regulatory and customer consequences if you don't act. Severity reflects the technical risk if that issue is exploited. When everything is ranked this way, skipping a critical security item becomes an explicit documented business decision. It also depends on actively managing security debt. Think of two levers. First, the tax. Permanently reserve a slice of delivery capacity, say 20% of every sprint, for fixing vulnerabilities and hardening. That keeps debt from drifting upward. Second, the rule. When accumulated risk crosses a defined threshold, you pause new feature delivery until it's back under control. These guardrails turn security debt into a visible governed constraint. Your remediation workflow must be simple but strict and aligned with regulators. Everything enters through a single intake channel, whether from pen tests, bug bounties, or scanners. Triage then quickly validates the issue and assigns a risk level. Next, that decision becomes backlog items owned by engineering, not miscellaneous security tasks. Closure means verified fixes and clear communication. Across all stages, you track SLAs, like 24 hours for critical, 30 days for high, to demonstrate due care. Auditors don't just want to hear that you're secure, they want proof. Design documents, threat models, scan and test results, risk acceptance decisions, and SBOMs all become legal and audit evidence. For CRA, NIS2 and SOC2 operate with this assumption. If it isn't documented, it effectively didn't happen. To turn all of this into action, start by clarifying who is accountable for product risk. Your product owners must explicitly own it. Then review your SDLC and plug gaps with lightweight threat modeling and clear release gates. Feed all security issues into the same engineering backlog, prioritized by business impact. Finally, define a few metrics, like time to remediate, and review them regularly. That loop is how Secure by Design becomes routine practice instead of an aspiration.